everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I'm going to give you my November 2024 astrological forecast. I'm going to start off with an introduction and then I'll go into each of the ascendants and or sun signs you pick, maybe listening to both. So this month in November 2024, we have a new moon in Scorpio, a full moon in Taurus. And we have a Mercury retrograde. So let's get into it. So what stood out for me for this new moon in Scorpio? First of all, the new moon in Scorpio is at 9 Scorpio, 35 minutes on the 1st of November at 5:47 a.m. And that's Pacific time. So there was two things that really stood out. The big one, I guess, would be that both Mars as well as Pluto are in opposition to each other, but not only in opposition, but they're at that critical anorectic degree of 29 degrees in their respective signs. And so this says something big is coming to a culmination. And certainly Mars opposition Pluto can bring in sort of malefic type energy. We can expect, I would say, some real underhanded things being done. But also them being exposed, right? Don't forget, Pluto is all about revealing the truth. There could even be an involvement of the military here. But certainly that whole confrontation of the old, right? That has to go. Remember that we have Pluto still at that 29 degrees of Capricorn. The other thing that stood out for me is that I don't talk about fixed stars that often, but there is a fixed star called Arcturus, and it is at 10 degrees of Scorpio, awfully close to the degree of the new moon. Now, the meaning that is basically given to Arcturus is a leader is seeking a better life for all. And as it links to the sun, right? It gives it even more energy in that type of thing. We have Mercury at 28 degrees of Scorpio will be opposing Uranus in Taurus. So this is unexpected news of some sort coming in. And with that involvement of Scorpio, these tend to be like secrets and things like that, right? We've got a wide square between Venus and a retrograde Saturn. And this just takes things that could be sweet. It just takes the sweetness off it. So it's kind of like dealing with stuff, perhaps dealing with stuff like values. Venus can stand for values. It can stand for money. It can stand for love. Certainly if you have something around these degree points, it could just be a stall in a relationship. Not a permanent one necessarily. Venus also in Sagittarius will oppose Jupiter. And remember, both Venus and Jupiter are benefics, Venus being the lesser benefic and Jupiter being the greater. And with Jupiter in Gemini and Venus in Sagittarius, we're looking here at, again, we're going back to this sort of information coming out. Here, I think this stands for Venus in the sense of women. And we could have this big sort of energy with regards to information coming out about women and the future of our women, right? Maybe even some legal aspects around this too, because both Jupiter and Sagittarius stand for the legal profession, amongst other things too, right? Now, the moon and the sun themselves in Scorpio have a wide trine to Saturn. And so this is a positive thing. This is, people working together to bring in rules, regulations, that type of thing, right? Jupiter nicely trines Chiron. And I think this is excellent too. Chiron's all about sort of healing type energy, and Jupiter's about putting a focus or opening that up in a positive way with the trine. We have a grand trine, and that occurs in water signs. we have Mars in Cancer, we have Mercury, as well as Neptune. And this is a beautiful energy. So, this is kind of like with the Mars part of it, bringing in this beautiful energy of let's move forward with some of these things. I get this feeling of optimism with this, especially with the Neptune bringing in inspiration. It's almost like I get this big rise up of, I think it's the people um, being optimistic and inspired in a very high way, in a global way. And then, of course, we do have Uranus sextiling Neptune. That's kind of an ongoing thing as they go retrograde and go direct. And that I view as opportunities to express your spirituality, to be inspired. It can also, if you've got these sort of degree points, so we're looking at the latter degrees of both Pisces and Taurus. This can bring in some opportunities for beautiful music, writing beautiful music, dance, even something to do with the film industry as well. All right, so that new moon in Scorpio definitely is active for us, right? Now, I know that we've got the election in the USA on the 5th of November. There are a lot of astrologers that have covered this. I'm not going to do a lot of detail on this. My view is that it's really the inauguration that's going to show who is going to be the president as well as the vice president of the USA. And so that's going to be in my January prediction. But I will just say a few things about the 5th of November. I looked the 5th of November at around 8 p.m. Pacific. That's kind of when a lot of the polls will have closed. And we have Mercury as well as Venus in positive, outgoing Sagittarius. So these are positive messages, right? And perhaps positive messages being delivered by a woman. We have Mercury in Sagittarius and its trine that Mars in Cancer. Well, actually, Mars is not in Cancer at that time. It's just out of Cancer, but it's still in a trine with Mercury because Mars is at 0 degrees of Leo. Now, we're still going to have that Mars opposing Pluto at this time. It's all within orb, right? A few degrees. And so this emphasized that whole ruthlessness, along with culminating energies of that 29-degree mark of Pluto, right? We also have the moon is going to be in, I would say, conservative, stable Capricorn. And so I see that as a stabilizing factor with regards to this can represent the people being conservative and not being fired up, that type of thing. But don't forget that Mars opposing Pluto is pretty powerful too. So we have on the 7th November, we have transiting Mercury is going to be at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. And of course, that is going to be indicating it's now in shadow. And it will be trining the North Node in Aries. This is excellent. So this says to me that that whole Mercury retrograde, which starts which starts on the 26th of November and ends on the 15th, is very much going to be involved with our destiny path, right? So this is going to be some kind of behind the scenes look in that Mercury retrograde period. So now we're going to be going up to look at that full moon in Taurus. And this is also a very powerful moon too. It is going to be at 24 Taurus 0 minutes on the 15th of November at 1:28 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So this same day, the 15th of November, we're also going to have Saturn going direct at 12 Pisces 41 minutes. So this is significant. This says to me some move forward with regards to those old institutions. Saturn many times can refer to the old, right? Can also refer to karma. But I see this as this Saturn going direct, that it's a new step in a new direction, um, with our rules, with our regulations, with our institutions. There's a turn here, right? There's an ending with this full moon. Significantly, this moon conjuncts Uranus. And so this does indicate some kind of unexpected events happening, perhaps with the people. Maybe some protests of some sort may happen here. If you have this around in your chart, so this would be 24 Taurus, there may be some sudden upsets for you around this time. Now, sometimes these upsets can go in a positive way, not necessarily a negative way. Certainly, if you're waiting and wanting something to end or to culminate, or you want to move on from something, this full moon could give you that energy with Uranus conjunct it. We have the moon in a wide sextile with Neptune, and then the moon also has a wide trine with Pluto. And again, to me, this is tying in the people and truth coming out, but also a lot of inspiration around the people at this time. And we have Mercury in Sagittarius will be trining Chiron. And that's just bringing positive messages for healing. Mars now in Leo has a wide trine to the North Node, but so this also indicates some forward movement with regards to our destiny path. But we still have at this time, even though it's moved on from the new moon in Scorpio, this full moon within orb still has that Mars, now in Leo, opposing Pluto in Capricorn. I'm going to say happy birthday to my daughter Allison. She was born on this day. So hopefully there's something positive that'll be wrapping up for her. Happy birthday. So when we move on to the 20th of November, wow, this is significant. Pluto will be at 0 degrees and some minutes of Aquarius. So this is pretty monumental in the sense that in the first time in our lifetime, we are going to have Pluto now in Aquarius for the next 20 years or so. And I've done a whole video on this. If you want to know more about it, see the link below. But this is really positive. And certainly for those Aquarians listening or watching this, lots of change ahead for you, lots of transformation. And don't think transformation has to be negative, right? But certainly for the people, if we generalize Aquarius to the people, this is big change ahead for us as humanity in all our respective countries, right? On the 22nd of November, we have that sun goes into positive, optimistic Sagittarius. And certainly for those folks that are viewers or clients that are Sagittarians, this is the start of your part of the year that celebrates you, Sagittarius. The 26th of November, we have the Mercury retrograde starting at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. So this Mercury retrograde will stay in Sagittarius. It does go back into the latter degrees, around 6 degrees of Sagittarius. On the 15th of December, it'll be going forward again. And I think this could bring in a number of things. Sagittarius can stand for anything foreign. So this will be negotiations behind the scenes, discussions behind the scenes with foreign nations, foreign people. It also represents the law. And so there could also be behind the scenes things done regarding the law during that Mercury retrograde period too. I've spoken about this a few times, this Mercury retrograde. It does hark back to the Mercury retrograde that started last year in 2023, that ended the beginning days of January 2024, so that's this year. It began its direct motion at that 22 degrees of Sagittarius, which is where the retrograde starts this time round. So there's some connection in with that period of time too. So that would be the latter part of December 2023 and that first few days of January 2024. All right, what about December? Let's give you a little peek in December. So, Sagittarius, you have your new moon at 9 Sagittarius. We're going to have a full moon at 23 degrees of Gemini. Um, and there will be 2 new moons in December. But in particular, Capricorn, you have your second new moon of the year at 9 Capricorn on the 30th of December this year. So pay attention to things that come in, especially new things at this time. And it's right like at that whole time period, right of the new year. Mars will be retrograde at that time. And Mercury will also be going direct mid-December. All right, folks. Now, what I'd like to do is to go on and look at the individual ascendants and or sun signs you pick. It might be a good idea to listen to or watch both your sun sign as well as your ascendant. So Capricorn, that new moon in Scorpio sextiles your sign and involves the 11th house. Now, because we've got both Mars and Pluto in opposition and at 29 degrees, there's something that's going to be happening here that's going to be involved with transforming something for you, right? Now, the moon itself is in the 11th, your 11th house. Sextiles opportunities. The 11th house, typically we talk about friends and groups we belong to. It could be something as simple as some new start with a group that you've wanted to join before. Some new start with friends. But it's also our hopes, dreams, and wishes. So there could be for you maybe some unexpected opportunities, right? That's sextiles, to have one of your hopes, dreams, or wishes come true here. Now, we talked about that whole fixed star Arcturus, right? This could have something to do with you taking on a leadership role of some sort here too, right? Maybe you're going to be asked by some group to lead it. Maybe you're going to start your own group, right? And maybe that own group that you're going to start is part of what you've always wanted to do. It's always been a hope or dream for you. But it could simply just be new friends come into your life that'll be important for you, right? Yeah. Now, that full moon is in a fellow earth sign, so we know it favorably trines. And it trines you and involves the 5th house. So there's a number of things the 5th house can affect. Generally speaking, I always say it's about creative projects. So you may be wrapping up some really cool creative project at this time. Other Capricorns may give birth. I mean, the 5th house is children, or children come into focus for some reason. The 5th house also represents your own business. Some Capricorns may decide to shut down their business, go back to corporate world. That type of thing could happen here too. But it is a trine, even though it's a full moon. So whatever it is that's culminating at this point or ending at this point, it's going to be for your best good, right? Now, the other thing the 5th house represents too is new love and true love. So there's going to be some Capricorns that maybe have been involved in some kind of love relationship that may end at this time. Now, it can end at this time in whatever stage it's in too. So it could also be that you and your partner decide you're going to be exclusive. It's just not going to be this love type dating thing. So that can happen too, involving that 5th house. Whatever it is, it's going to be positive for you, right? Now, when we look at that Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, that's in your 12th house. So this says to me, you're going to be doing some behind the scenes negotiations, behind the scenes communications with what? Potentially with government offices. It also represents hospitals, ashrams. I mean, that would be also a fabulous thing to do. Take that Mercury retrograde to go inside yourself and go to some kind of ashram or some equivalent to an ashram, maybe even just a number of days where you go to a health spa to be really looked after, right? I mean, Sagittarius is about our future. So it's like, I see this, you going behind the scenes and taking care of yourself, your inside, especially your thoughts inside. in a very positive way. And something like going to a health or spa type thing or an ashram would be very beneficial for that Mercury retrograde for sure. But you could just be communicating with people behind the scenes right now for some reason, right? All right. Take care, Capricorn. All right, folks. Well, that's what I've got to say for November 2024. It's a pretty powerful month, a big change. I'm wishing everybody all the best. And for those folks that are in the USA, happy Thanksgiving. And then, of course, we've got Christmas after that. So that'll be my next video. I will be doing my December video. I'm also still in the planning stages of doing a live, like I did last year, um, a live podcast of some sort, as well as video, so that I can go over my idea of what 2025 is for each of you individually. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe and sign up, hit that bell, because then you get notified anytime I announce, say, something like my live forecast. And you can be on there and talk back and forth with me live. I love doing that type of thing. So stay tuned for that. Please take good care of yourself. Remember that also the sun will go into Sagittarius on the 22nd of November. And I've always looked forward to, I'm a Sagittarian by sun sign, and I always look forward to that time period because there's always that little boost up of optimism and positiveness when the sun goes in at that time. So there's also that to look forward to in November too. Sending everybody lots of love, lots of optimism, and happy times. Please take care of yourself. Reach out to me if you would like me to do, say, your year ahead forecast. All my contact info is below. Bye for now.